Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's Spunky Spirit episode. Today, today's my podcast kind of came out late today because it's been kind of a crazy week, and I had some health issues. I'm fine, everything's great, but we did have a little bit of a scare for a minute, but everything is fine. It's just crazy how stuff happens sometimes, and I had all these plans for this week and kind of got put on a halt, but towards Wednesday, everything was good. Everything is fine. So, but I do apologize for being kind of late and not being on Instagram a lot or on Facebook a lot this week. So today we are going to talk about oracle cards or card decks and how to choose them, why you would choose them, and if you want to even choose them. So a lot of people don't even want or even aren't even pulled to cards. And so if you aren't, then you probably would want to skip this episode. But if you are pulled to cards or you kind of want to find a way to communicate with spirit, then this is the deck for you. Sometimes we use oracle cards for different ways to communicate with spirit so we can get advice, or we can tap into our spirit team, our guides, our higher self, whatever that is, so we can kind of see which direction we want to go or validate if we're going in the right direction. And oracle cards are how I kind of started. I knew I already had started readings. I already know I had this gift and I could, feel spirits and see spirits, but as far as helping other people connect, I would get nervous, and so I would start by using oracle cards, and it got to the point where I wouldn't even need to use them anymore because I would just trust the stuff that came in. But that being said, there's a difference between, I also want to know too, there is a difference between tarot cards and oracle cards. Tarot cards are more, Spirit still talks to you through tarot cards, but you have to know the specific meaning of each card, so it makes it a little harder. You have to study it, you have to learn it. It's not like something, you can go to the book and read it, but honestly, tarot cards is something that is a different way of reading. So if a tarot card, if you're not learning it or you don't know how to do it, I would suggest you go to a professional tarot card reader, and they would be awesome at that. But if you're just looking for communication with spirit once in a while, and an oracle card deck is pretty perfect for that. I love oracle card decks. I collect them. So I try and use a different deck every week for Carrie Connects. And it's a card reading I do each week on Instagram and Facebook. And it is I try and do different decks because I want you guys to see the pictures and see the layouts and see how to use them. And so I think your first deck though, I want to kind of explain how to pick a deck, because some people go in and they see all these different things. And a lot of times, when you're finding a crystal, you go to what you're pulled to. And you can do that with decks too, but sometimes you get pulled to a deck and then you take it home and you don't jive with it, or you don't understand it. And so that's kind of hard. So my suggestion with oracle cards, especially when this is your first time or you're just interested in getting them, is find something that, definitely that you get pulled to, but kind of research the different decks, honestly, and be familiar with try and familiarize yourself with them, the symbology and the images on the cards, because that makes a huge difference. So if you see some of the pictures on the cards and they don't resonate with you, or they don't have a lot of symbols and signs on them, I wouldn't recommend that for your first deck, because then you're kind of, the whole point is you want it to be simple at first, so then you can ease your ways into it, and you can get better at it, and then you won't need the signs and symbols as much. But to be at the first, you probably need some sort of deck that has pictures with signs and symbols on them, or lots of different lots of different things on the picture, because when you pull the card, you want to be able to read it or intuitively look at it without having to read the book that comes with it, because each Oracle deck comes with a book that tells you what each card means. And honestly, the goal is to be able to look at the card and not have to read the book, or look at the card, tap into your own intuition about what it means, and then read the book and see how on you or how spot on you are. And also, too, with signs and symbols, they can mean something different to you than it means on the page in the book that explains it. So that's what you want to do, is kind of familiarize a simple deck. So my very first deck, you guys have heard me talk about this before on my social media, is Ask Your Guides by Sonia Choquette. Also, there is Trust Your Vibes by Sonia Choquette. That was pretty simple too. And there's a new one I found by Denise Linn, the Gateway Oracle. That's pretty simple too. It's pretty straightforward. The answers are pretty much there. It's not something that you have to read into or don't understand. It's something that when you pull the card, you understand the answer. And so that kind of helps. So when you do kind of look for a deck, consider what you want to use it for, and find one that speaks to you. So if you want to use it for communicating with spirit and communicating with your guides, then you're going to need one that the answers are pretty straightforward, that you're not guessing a lot. If you want to use it to do readings, then it might be something different. I would kind of say that you'd want the same, but a lot of people like their own deck for them, and they don't let anybody use it but themselves. And then when they do readings, or they have somebody do readings, then they don't let anybody use their own specific deck. They use a different deck for readings. So some people like to do that. Also, too, a great way to clear your deck is to get some selenite that white selenite crystal, and tap the deck 3 times before you tap the deck of the top of the deck 3 times before you shuffle the cards. And that will clear the energy for the deck every time you use it. So that will help too. Especially if you do have somebody else use your cards, because I do know I always let my girls do their own readings and use cards, and sometimes my friends would use them. So each time you do a new reading with your deck, it'd be good to clear the cards. Now, if you're the only one ever using the cards, then you don't have to do that. But it's kind of a good idea sometimes to do that. Sorry, started getting the hiccups. So, and also too, another thing is consider the quality of the card stock and the artwork and the overall design. If there's a way that you could open up a sample deck and feel the cards, that would be great, because then you can kind of feel the energy from them. You really have to like the artwork, and you don't want to pull out the deck. I know sometimes I get some decks and the cards are so stiff and so hard that you can't even shuffle them. And sometimes they're so flimsy that it doesn't make it worth it and you hardly use them. So make sure the cardstock quality is good and the artwork is good. And also, too, there are so many different layouts that you can use. And what I mean by layout is there are layouts for your career. There's layouts for love. There's layouts for just daily layouts. There's layouts for almost full moons. And I have a lot of these layouts on my social media, and I try and post them for you every once in a while. And so you have to kind of decide, are you going to do a daily layout for the past, present, and future and have it tell a story? Or are you going to use it quite a bit for love? So there's some decks that I got that were strictly just for love and love readings. And there was one deck that I would use all the time. It was an animal deck, and there was a heart layout, a really awesome love layout in it. I'll have to, if I have time one time, I'll post it. But, and I used it strictly for love. Use love readings, anything about love and relationships. I used it for that. And so sometimes there are decks out there that are strictly just for love. They're love decks. And I have a deck just about past lives. There's past lives in it. And in fact, I have 2. And they're just strictly for past lives. And if I want to look into my past lives or other people's past lives, that's the deck I use. So you have love ones, deck ones, and then you can have ones that are strictly just like, there are some starseed decks out there. So if you just want to do, your own Starseed, kind of what's my mission on Earth. And I do have a life purpose deck too. So you just kind of have to decide, is it something that you're going to use daily all the time, or is it something that you're going to tap into quite a bit? And know the different layouts too that you're going to be using and how often you're going to use it. Because again, I don't want you to get addicted to it. I don't want you to do a layout and be like, I don't like that answer, and do it again, or do 5 layouts in one day. You just want to do one a day, and you can even just pull a card a day. Honestly, that's how I kind of started too. So, and it was just the craziest thing because I knew all they really do is validated what I felt. They validated my intuition, or they taught me how to trust my intuition, and then it started building on my intuition. So that's what these oracle cards do, and it's pretty awesome. Read reviews from other users. So if you're looking for a deck on, if you see a deck at a store, a store that you want to go to, one of the holistic stores, then go look and see if you can find it on Amazon and read the reviews on it. See if they're, or just right there in the store, look on Amazon and see if there's different reviews about it. So read the reviews, because a lot of times they'll take pictures of the cards. Amazon reviews are probably the best. And I do order my cards from specific businesses that I want to support, but I have been known to get some of my decks on Amazon because sometimes they're cheaper. So just kind of feel your way through that. If it's possible, look for the photos. That's a big thing. And sometimes people will video them. And also too, here's my own plug, but watch Carrie Connects. We use a different deck every day. And sometimes I do showcase decks, and I'm also going to make an Amazon store pretty soon. And I'm going to list the different decks that I use, a grounding mat that I use, different Epsom salt baths that I use, different sage that I use, different things. So and this will probably be about in a couple of weeks, I'll post this up on my website, or I'll put the link in my bio. And this will help you you see the different decks that I have and that I really like. And also to consider the cost, because there are some decks that sometimes are pretty expensive. So there's any deck by Doreen Virtue is pretty expensive now because she wanted them off of the market. She was into the new age kind of stuff, and then she went completely a different direction, and she wants all of her decks off the market. And so sometimes some of those decks are pretty expensive. And if they're a bigger deck, or if there are lots of them, or if they're a pretty expensive deck, then they're going to be more expensive. And sometimes when you're just beginning, being more expensive can also be a little bit more difficult. I have a beautiful oracle deck that I love so much, and I love the artwork, but honestly, it's kind of hard when I do readings because it's hard to see the symbolism. It's hard to understand what they mean. And when I do readings for myself, I can't just, because you can't, when you're trying to read yourself, your intuition can be off. So I always use oracle cards to help kind of validate. And also if you can, try using a deck before you buy it, if it's possible. And I'm not saying sometimes they'll have different samples, and you can do that. Some holistic stores do that for you, but mostly, if your friend has it, I just really want you to feel pulled to it, because I know that there's been times when you buy a deck and they're pretty expensive. They're like $20 to $30 each time. And then I know the feeling of being disappointed that the deck isn't everything that you had hoped for, or it just doesn't vibe with you. It just doesn't kind of give you the answers. It's not always on spot. So now when you get to your deck, and I've told you how to clean it or how to clear the energy, you need to shuffle it a little bit, and then you need to look at the different layouts. A lot of times in the book that comes with it, there are different layouts that you can use. You can also Google different layouts and what each card means when you turn it over. Anything like that, it's kind of real cool, and that can help you out too. Now, when you first do it, I would suggest doing either the 1 card a day or the 3 card layout. And when you do it, you can use the book. You can use the book whenever you want to, but you'll get to the point where you know your deck enough that you won't have to use the you won't have to use the book as much anymore. But what I really want you to try and do is a couple times you can use the deck. Use the book. But I really want you to, when so you shuffle the cards, you lay them in a fan in front of you, and you pull how many cards, or you pull whatever layout that you're doing. So you pull 3 cards. You put them in front of you, and then you turn one over at a time. So you turn one over, and I really want you to feel it and look at the colors, look at the symbolism, look at the symbols, look at, is there a dog on there? Is there a rainbow on there? And what that means to you. Because we were just talking about this in my Spirit Circle class last night. Every symbol means something different to everybody. I would say a symbol and everybody would put down what it meant to them. And honestly, most of the time, everyone's was different. And you also have to realize too that sometimes the symbols that you see are sometimes symbolic and sometimes they're legitimate. They're legitimate. So they're what I mean by that is if you pull a card and you see a bear. So for the bear, it could mean for you strength. It could mean mama bear. It could mean bravery. It could mean being strong. Or you could legitimately go down the street and see, you could be going to the park that day and see a bear. So just now I feel like with oracle cards, it's more symbolic. I feel like it's more legitimate when you're doing actually psychic or mediumship readings, that you see those literal and not legit literal signs. So if you see a bear, the bear might mean to you, I got to be strong. I'm there. I'm going to be protected. I'm going to be watched over. And then I want you to read the book and have it explained to you. But first, I kind of want you to turn over all the cards, because each card is symbolic in its own right, but it also tells a cool story. It can tell a past, present, and future story. It can tell you an all-incumbent story. And I want you to just look at each card and see, what the symbols, what signs and symbols stick out to you. And then I want you to read the book. And then throughout the day, I want you to see if you see some of those signs and symbols. See if you see some of those validations. See if you see some of those things that you saw on your card that day. That's why I wanted you to pick a card deck that had symbols and signs on them. Because if you pick, a card deck that just is different colors and artsy, and that's okay. But I when you're first using it for your first deck, it'd probably be better if you had some sort of signs and symbols on them. So that's kind of your Oracle Deck 101. I mean, it can get more into depth, and it's way different than tarot readings, but it's just kind of, if you want something that just connects you to spirit and connects you on the right path and lets you know, gives you validation that you're doing the right thing, that's kind of how you would use an Oracle deck. Some people don't love them. Some people aren't called to them at all, but some people really like them for themselves. They use them for themselves. I love the Oracle deck modality. And modality is something that you use to connect to spirit, and meditation and cards for me, Oracle cards, have been my go-to because I get in my own head a lot when I'm doing my own things, and I want something that's straight out. And so Oracle decks have helped me a lot. So I really hope that they can help you. I hope you find some, find some solace or some deck that really works for you and really helps you, because spirit wants to communicate with you. They do. They are not some secret little thing they're trying to hide from you. They want to talk to you. And if they can talk to you through your Oracle deck or your cards, they're going to. You just have to stop second guessing yourself. Stop guessing your intuition. Trust it and go. So I hope that helps for your Oracle deck. But I always, during my classes, and during my retreats, I always give the Oracle deck of Ask Your Guides. Ask Your Guides, because pretty much when you're going through life and you're going in your journey, asking your guides is what you want to do. That's the main purpose of the Oracle deck, and it's pretty simple. So Ask Your Guides, Trust Your Vibes, or the Oracle Gateway by Denise Linn. So, Ask Your Guides is by Sonia Choquette. Trust Your Vibes is by Sonia Choquette. But The Gateway is by Denise Linn. And I will probably put those in the show notes, the links to those on Amazon in the show notes, and you can see what they look like. And hopefully that helps you guys. So just for you guys' information, there is a retreat coming up in May. It's going to be awesome. Retreats are amazing. I love the experience. I can't even tell you, it was the most amazing experience. I was really skeptical about doing a retreat, but it is one of the best things I've ever done. It was lots of bonding, lots of friendship, lots of communication with yourself, your higher self, and I think this will be my last Sacred Soul retreat for a while. I think maybe I will do a mediumship retreat to teach mediumship stuff for those who are interested in mediumship. But for this Sacred Soul one, I think this layout or this lesson plan or module that we do, this will be the last one I do of this one. Just because I have bigger ones that I want to do. Like bigger, not bigger. I want them to always kind of be small and intimate because I really like that one-on-one, but I think different modules, different types of things. So I love you guys, and you know that I mean it. And just please remember that you don't actually, honestly, modalities are great, but you honestly, once you start to trust yourself and believe in yourself, you are the magic. You have everything you need inside of you. So always remember that. If you liked this episode, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you think this episode might help somebody, please share it on social media.